seems to me that there's a tendency to listen through the word, as you say, that and that word identifies, that identification still goes on while one thinks one is listening.
Yeah.
That this is the problem. It's very subtle.
Yes. In other words, it is listening, you use the word in C. In that sense.
No, I listen. When you say something to me, what the Buddha has said, I listen. I say you're just quoting from what the Buddha has said, but he's not saying something I want to know. He's telling me about the Buddha, but I want to know what you think, not what Buddha thought. Because then we establish a relationship between you and me, and not between you, Buddha, and me. I want to see.
That also means you were listening
I
with
was
another
listening
thought.
what you were saying about the Buddha. I was just listening. I don't know. You're quoting, and probably what you're quoting was perfectly. You're quoting probably correctly, and so on. But you're not revealing yourself to me, and I'm revealing myself to you. Therefore, we have a relationship through the Buddha, not direct relationship. I want to pick. I love my dog, and you like that dog too. But you like that dog, and our relationship is based on that dog. I don't know if I'm making myself. I'm not comparing the Buddha to the dog.
May I try to say what you are what you are looking for is to our personal experiential response to your statement when we have listened?
Your personal experience is also the experience of everybody else.
Naturally.
It's not personal.
Though it is individually rendered, because...
and it is not even... If you and I suffer, it is suffering. Not my suffering and your suffering. But when I identify myself when there is identification with suffering, then it's my suffering. And then I would say, but I must be free of it. But as human beings in the world, we suffer. We are going off somewhere else.
It seems to me this question of identification is the main one that is very subtle, and in spite of all that you have said, the identification still goes on.
Of course.
It seems to be built into us.
Well, this was really the question, whether that identification can be ended, if I understood rightly.
But see, we say identification prevented listening freely, right, openly, because one listens through the identification.
What does identification mean? Why do human beings identify themselves with something? My car, my house, my wife, my children, my country, my God, you follow? Why?
To be something, perhaps?
Go in, let's inquire why. Not only identify with outward things, but also inwardly identify with my experience. Identify with experience, and this is my experience. Why do the human beings go through this all the time?
At one stage you said, see, we identify with our sensations, for example,
yes,
our senses. And this seems very powerful. That, what would it be to not to identify with our sensations?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when one listens, am I listening to identify myself with that fact about which he is talking, or there is no identification at all, and therefore I am capable of listening with a totally different ear? Am I hearing with the ears of my hearing, or am I hearing with total attention? You understand? Am I listening with total attention? Or my mind is wandering off and I say, this is rather boring, and what is she talking about, or he? And so I'm off. But can I attend so completely that there is only the act of listening and nothing else? No identification, no saying, yes, that's a good idea, bad idea, that's true, that's false, which is all process of identification. But without any of that, any of those movements, can I listen? If so, if when I do so listen, then what? The truth that thought is the essence of the self, and the self creates all this misery, is finished. I don't have to meditate, I don't have to go practice, all that. It's over. Because I see the danger of this thing. So can we listen so completely that there is the absence of the self? And you say, can I see, observe something without the self? Which is my chimney, I love that sky, it's beautiful sky, it's all the rest of that. So please, so the ending of thought, which is the ending or cutting at the very, very root of the self. Bad simile, but take that. If I live, when there is such active, attentive, non-identifying attention, then does the self exist? I need a suit. Why should there be an identification in getting a suit? I get it. There is getting it. So, the active listening implies listening to the senses. That's to my taste, to the whole sensory movement. I mean, you can't stop the senses. I mean, you might then be paralyzed. But the moment I say that's a marvelous taste, I must have more of that, begins the whole identification.
It seems to me that that is the general condition of mankind, to be identifying with the
Of course.
senses. Now,
That is the-
how are we going to change that?
That
How
is
is
the
that?
whole problem, sir. Mankind has been educated, conditioned for millennia to identify it with everything. My guru, my house, my God, my country, my king, my queen, all that horrible business that goes on.
You see, with each one of those, there's a sensation.
It is a sensation, which we call experience.